Imperial is a classic lager out of Costa Rica that has been in production since 1924. There's also an Imperial Silver and Imperial Light version available. Is this tropical beer worth enjoying on a warm day? Find out now on Two Dudes Reviews.
What up, guys? Yeah, today we have Imperial out of Costa Rica. We're gonna crack this sucker right open. And I've never had this before. I've seen it around for, different places, but never tried it. So we're gonna give it a whirl. And while I'm pouring, I wanna kind of apologize for the overall layout I got going right now. I'm in a place for a couple months. There's not really any good area in this apartment to be filming any of this. So again, I apologize for the layout. When I get in the new spot sometime in April, it'll look so much better. So I just got to make do with this for the time being. But anyways, poured real nicely in my Homer Simpson's beer mug. But all right, let's get into the review and start off with the smell. Right off the bat, I'm not really digging the aroma, to be perfectly honest. It's a little more wet corn than I'd like. I mean, it smells like a lot of other kind of your run-of-the-mill Pilsners. But it's very abundant with that corn and grain, like more so than maybe I'd like, especially for a beer that's coming out of Costa Rica or someplace, where it's going to be humid, where you probably want something just really light and more minimal on that grain aroma. But yeah, gotta be honest, I'm not super digging the aroma right off the bat. There's nothing too crazy complex about it. It's just a little more grainy than I'd like it to be. So I'm not gonna recommend it on aroma, which I don't do that very often, but yeah, I'm just not feeling that right now. But all right, let's get to the taste. Taste isn't too bad. Doesn't really have that kind of skunky taste you might get with some Pilsners. It's very, very crisp, right out of the fridge. It's pretty refreshing, actually. It's got a bit of a lemon rind to it. Not all that grainy either. I was expecting it to be much more so going off of the aroma. So I'm actually a little surprised with how kind of crisp and refreshing without being funky that it is. Yeah, actually, for just being your kind of Costa Rican Pilsner or lager kind of thing, it's got a decent taste to it. It's nothing out of the ordinary. It's nothing super special, but I think it's refreshing. It's pretty crisp. There's enough lemon kind of zest rind in there to make it kind of bring it out and there's not an abundance of that grain corn wet bread thing that you'll get from some Pilsners. But I think this is refreshing. I think if I was in Costa Rica or someplace where it's balls hot and balls humid, this would probably be a pretty good beer to have around. So I'll recommend it for taste. All right. Ooh. Bubbles, not much. That head died as soon as it was poured. But all right, next category is value for price. And honestly, the price, not bad at all. You're going to pay for this what you're going to pay for your kind of run-of-the-mill Mexican import. So what you're going to pay for Corona, Modelo, Pacifico, kind of stuff like that. That's about what you're going to pay for this. And, it's coming from much further away. So, yeah. I'll recommend it for value for price. For an import, you really can't go too wrong with that. So I'll recommend that. Next category is distinction. Now, distinct isn't, and there's only so much you can do with a lager. There's actually not much you can do at all with it. You can just pretty much try your best to keep it from tasting like you just dropped a loaf of bread and water. If you can stay away from that. Other than that, there's not a ton. Occasionally you'll run into a beer that has a little bit of some extra flavor, which is I find it refreshing when they try to step out of that comfort zone. And to be perfectly honest, a great tasting Pilsner is very hard to do. There's so many places that just suck at it. And there's also, there's a lot of reasons why your local microbrewery will not make a Pilsner. Of course, granted, Pilsner is the lager is cold brewed, and it takes substantially longer to make, which is why your local brewery is not going to be making it, because it takes up the vats and everything. It bogs them down for longer than your ale. So that's one reason why you're not going to find it as often. But also, it's just hard. It's easy to funk it up. It's so much easier to screw it up, and you can taste when a Pilsner sucks. You taste it like that. If an IPA sucks, you can probably still get away with selling it because it's bitter. You don't have that kind of flavor options. So again, there's not a lot you can do with a Pilsner or anything that's lager style for distinction. You can't really get away with too much. So I'm gonna give it a half because it's not doesn't have that wet funky taste to it. But there's also nothing there's no experimental thing. Like sometimes I'll have a lager. I've had one that had almost like a subtle hint of banana in it. I thought it worked very well. It's almost like a little banana bready kind of. That worked well. And so occasionally you'll get that, but you really have to go a little experimental to kind of stand out in the lager world. So yeah, give it a half for distinction. Next category is drinkability, and yeah, it's not too bad at all. I even think as this gets warmer, it'll still be kind of interesting because the glass right now is starting to kind of open up to the room, and I'm almost getting there's almost like some underlying plum to it a little bit. So I think as it gets warmer, it's not going to be something that's just really like god awful. Like, dear God, take it away. I think you'd still be able to drink it as it gets warmer. So if you're out with your buddies and you get like that giant, like a tall pillar of beer, as it gets warmer, I think you'll still be able to handle it. So yes, I will recommend it on drinkability. All right, last category is would I buy it again? And I don't know. I don't really see this beer in too many restaurants. You're gonna find. You'll find. I don't know who carries it. To be perfectly honest, you go into a Mexican restaurant, you're gonna have Mexican beers and some Bud Lights or whatever. If you go into a regular restaurant, you're gonna have again some Mexican beers and Bud Light. I don't know where you're gonna buy this at a general store. A general restaurant. You'd have to pick it up from the store specifically for this. And there's other beers that I'd get over this if I wanted a lager or really anything else. So, it's just kind of by default. I don't have any real reason to go out to the store and buy it. So, I guess no, I won't buy it again. It doesn't stand out enough for me to really want to go and get it. I guess if I'm ever in Costa Rica, sure, why not? I'll go for it. But outside of Costa Rica, I don't have any real reason to get it again. So I won't be, really buying it again. But that is the review for Imperial out of Costa Rica. Have you guys had this before? What do you think? You think it's a great beer, or would you rather pass on it? Have you been to Costa Rica and you think there's other beers that, this is kind of the national thing that you'd rather have some of the smaller breweries in the region. But let me know in the comments, and if you could like and subscribe, that'd be great. Also, got the podcast back up and running. It's fantastic. If you guys followed before, had a podcast, it was always kind of, we do a couple months and then go off. That was always because it was just be super expensive. It got real expensive to kind of host and publish and distribute, especially when sometimes it was hard to get the guy in line for recording, and so it just kind of, it always fall by the wayside. But found a free service that will host it for me, which is great. So the podcast will be coming back and it'll be on for good now. So when everything's up and running, I will include that into the main profile bio. You'll be able to see the little podcast link, and you'll be able to click on it and whatever. But if you could subscribe to that would really help me out. They actually allow advertising and that stuff, so that'll help pay for some of this stuff and upgrades and whatever. But check that out, and that's about it. So for myself and for Imperial, take it easy.